Welcome everybody to Taste Different Gaming News. What's on the news today? Sony has reportedly stopped making any more PlayStation VR2 headsets until it can figure a way out of a shifting pile of unsold VR goggles. Sony's virtual reality headset for the PlayStation 5, the PlayStation VR2, we're just going to call it the PSVR2 because it's so much easier, is a lovely device that has a few drawbacks. Nobody's buying it. It only works on the system. That's not a huge amount, doesn't have a huge amount of games, and is as expensive as the base console. So with the sales on the decline, Sony's put a temporary halt on production to stop its warehouse from clogging with unsold stock. The report from Bloomberg makes the claim this claim cites shipments figures from IDC as the main evidence for this, along with sources familiar with the plan. While Sony might not directly come out and say this, it is what it's doing. The number of PlayStation VR2s, that's a big word, units shipped per quarter pale in comparison to the numbers shifted by Meta. I think they mean shipped. Its current darling, the Quest 3, is equally priced, but the Quest 2 is half the price of the VR2 and is an excellent budget VR headset. But the key bit of information behind the report is the fact that Sony has already stated that it's looking at offering PC support with the PSVR2, which we've discussed before. This tech giant has been extra keen on the humble PC of late, with a raft of games being ported across. Hopefully, Sony is working with Valve and getting the PSVR2 to work properly with all VR content on the platform. But given that it's taken a good while for DualSense controller support to be fully realized in the PC, it may be some time before it's peachy. So, there's a little bit more to this article, basically about pricing and everything like that. And we've kind of talked about, we've talked about Sony, wanting to implement PSVR2 to work with Steam and, PC essentially. And these two knuckleheads, surprisingly, Pat finally broke down and went the VR realm with Quest 3. Nick also got the Quest 3 because his girlfriend likes him more than my wife does me, and I only have a Quest 2 still. Hint, hint, lady. So let's dive in here and find out what's up. So, do you think Sony is selling that bad? Pat, go now. Words.
I'll be honest with you. So I really, I had never gotten into VR and I was looking a few months back trying to figure out, I really want to do this. I had a little bit extra left over out of my tax return and I'm thinking, I really want to do VR. And I sat down and Nick had gotten a Quest 3 and I'm like, is the Quest 3 the right route for me? And I'm like, so I sat down and I kind of really did a pro con list. I'm like, what games do I got? And I went through the PlayStation and I was like, crap, I can't play any of these older PSVR1 games that I wanted. And I'm like, so what PSVR2 games do I want to play? And the list was pretty short. I'll be honest with you. It's pretty short. And then like the support for other things that I wanted to do with it were very limited. So then I started listing out all the games that the Quest 3 could play that I wanted to try. And the list was pretty, it was massive compared to the PSVR2 list. So it was kind of a no brainer for me. It was I went with the larger size. So it was a little bit more expensive than it was a little bit more expensive than the PSVR2, but the ecosystem was better. It had a lot more like things I could do with it, than I could do with the PSVR2. And plus, not to mention the games and being not tethered. And I have a Wi-Fi 6E router, so I can do the PC link without being tethered. So, so it was kind of a no brainer for me to spend a little bit of extra money to get that versus getting the PSVR2. Because it was between that and the PSVR2, I felt that I wasn't going to be buying any like the MetaQuest Pro. And it really probably wasn't. It was not really designed for games. And I wasn't going to buy something that was super old in the VR sphere, like the Valve Index, so, and that was really only the machines that were in the running for me. And so I made the decision because of the games that PSVR2 had available to me at now. And then looking at the specifications and stuff, the Quest 3 was just like a no brainer to me. And I think that's what everybody else is seeing. Quest 3, no brainer compared to PSVR2. And if you don't even have a PC and you don't even have a PlayStation, then the Quest 3 is kind of, it's standalone, right? It's just the stuff that requires a PC or PC link you can't play, but there's quite a bit of stuff that doesn't require that you can get. So, and they also have they have a monthly subscription plan, or you pay by the year and you get access to new games every month, kind of like Game Pass. You get new games that you get. So, I mean, to me, yeah, I do feel that Sony's not selling like they were hoping to. And I think, but the gamers are also a little leery of it, right? All the diehards and the people who wanted to get one, I got one. And then Sony just kind of gone radio silence for a while on new games. New games just aren't coming out in any type of rhythm. We're just like, when's the next game coming out? When's Sony going to put something out? All these third parties are kind of like, I think we'd rather write to the larger market, the Quest and the HTCs and the Valves and all those guys. We'd rather write something that they can in the PC ecosystem rather than the PlayStation. We have a larger market share to tap. So PlayStation announcing a little while back, we had mentioned it, that they're opening up to trying to make their headset work with PCs and stuff like that, is good news, because at least the PSVR2 gamers aren't SOL, right? They're going to hopefully get something. Sony will make it work, or maybe they won't. You never know. They said we were supposed to be getting something pretty soon. Pretty soon, been a little over a month ago. I thought it was sometime in April. So we got a whole nother month to try to get through to see if they can come up with how this is going to work. And, if you can just buy another different cable, what are they going to do to make it work? I have no clue. But I wouldn't put it past this to be Sony. Sony did slow down or halt the creation of new units. I bet they have a crap ton of them just sitting in their warehouse, just collecting dust. They could remedy that if they just announced a slew of new games coming out that were awesome, but I will tell you that I looked at them because I have a PS5 and I'm like, I need to put more time in the PS5. I spent all this money on this console. How do I get more out of it? And the PSVR2 was on the short list, but it got knocked off pretty early compared to the other ones. So I do feel that this could be something they've done. It almost feels like they've abandoned it. And I was a little leery of them announcing the PC support. And now this kind of makes a little bit of sense, right? They don't ever post their sales numbers. So we don't really know how many units they have sold, how many they've created. That's trade secrets to them. They're not going to paint themselves in a bad light by saying, hey, we made 2 million units and sold 200,000. Because then, but if this is true though, too, why haven't we seen PSVR2 on sale? I would think that would be Sony's first move. So I can see this being false on one hand and true on the other, because of what Sony's doing. But at the same time, I think Sony would be trying to put this crap on sale and be like, hey, guys, we got a bundle sale going on here. You get this with this with the, the Call of the Mountain for like $250, $300, something, I would think that they'd just be trying to give those units away to get them out of their warehouse and recoup some lost money. But time will tell. Nick, what do you think? Do you believe this article is telling the truth, or do you believe it's just, some people overreaching with what they're either misunderstanding or not fully seeing the whole picture?
I think I can believe that this article to be true. Cause I'm in the same boat. I got a Quest 3 as well. And, like you talked about, and that was the same thing for me, as well as like, there was a lot more benefit to the Quest 3. Now, I'm not saying that the PSVR2 is not a powerhouse of a VR headset, right? It is. But again, and I think I've talked about this before, is like you can make something a powerhouse, but if you have nothing to play on it, it doesn't matter how powerful or awesome it is. If there's nothing there, then no one's going to go buy it, right? If there's no software to use, then it ain't worth having anyway. We've seen a lot of expensive accessories that were super powerful come out, and just die off because they had no support, right? Nothing supported them. So they were cool, but nobody did anything with them. No developers developed anything for them. And so they just died off because nobody made anything. And I think that's the same thing here, right? The Quest 3, it is a no-brainer. You can tether it if you want to play games on the PC, or you can play it without tethered. It's a standalone device, so you don't need any other equipment besides the headset. There's a lot more games you can play. If you had a Meta Quest 2 and you bought games there, you can play those on your Meta Quest 3, which is another thing for PlayStation that hurt them too, I think. Because I had a PSVR, but one of the things that really pissed me off is I can't play the PSVR games on my PSVR 2. So it's like, I bought all these games for PSVR, and if I get a 2, I can't play them. But if you buy a Quest 3 and you bought games if you had a Quest 2 and you bought games for that and then upgraded to a Quest 3, you could play all the Quest 2 games as well as whatever came out for Quest 3. So it's like you had this gigantic back catalog of games already out there, plus what they're bringing new to the Quest ecosystem. And that it was, it's also more established and there's a bigger player base on the Quest. I think, I agree with you, Pat. I think the people that wanted it, the diehards and stuff, they got their PSVR2. And I'm sure it's a cool device and all. But again, and I 100% agree with you that, yeah, Sony, I mean, Call of the Mountain was like the only game that they made, right? If they came out with like if they came out with Spider-Man 2, then they had a Spider-Man 2 VR portion of it, or a God of War VR game or something like that, like all their an Uncharted VR game that they made and stuff like that, then you would have people going like, yeah, I want to pick one of those up. But when you don't have your, or Last of Us VR game or something like that, and when you don't have your big heavy hitter exclusive games from your console, transitioning those over to a VR experience, the only thing people have the option of buying is a lot of games that are already on the Quest, right? So it's like, well, then I might as well just go buy a Quest because I can play all those besides like maybe the couple exclusives that are on there, like Call of the Mountain and maybe a couple others, and I can play everything else on the Quest. So I might as well get that. Plus, if you have other friends that have VR headsets, more than likely they probably have a Quest as well, right? So then you can play with your buddies and stuff like that. Plus, the negative thing about PlayStation VR2, again, is it's a tethered only headset, right? And that's one of the things I think that really benefits the Quest is that it doesn't require you to be tethered. Because if you've played VR tethered, it's not as good of an experience as when you play it untethered, right? I've played both, and a tethered experience is not as good as an untethered experience. It's just not. So, like I said, I believe this because we don't hear a lot about the PSVR2. I don't even remember the last time they announced a game for the PSVR2. Sony doesn't really talk much about the headset. We don't hear a lot from them regarding the headset or new things coming to it or anything like that when they have their showcases and stuff. So it's like, it's unfortunate, but I just don't think this time it worked out for them, right? And I think that's mainly because of the competition with the Quest. The Quest really, compared to the other headsets, the Quest really hit the mainstream, right? I mean, it's the one headset that a lot of people know and a lot of people have purchased, right? So it's more mainstream than the rest of the headsets that are out there. So, it just kind of got the leg up in the competition, right? As far as, whether you like or hate Meta, that doesn't really matter. They made something and that what they made, they just went in the right direction with it, right? And so PSVR 2, even though it's a cool and pretty hefty VR headset, again, if it doesn't have the software to back it up, then you're not going to really have much support, right? If you don't have the support, you're not going to have people going out and buying or wanting to buy that device when there's nothing to play on it, right? And that's the problem. I think the PC connection will definitely help them. I don't know if I'm not necessarily sure if that will cause people who are looking for a VR headset to choose a PSVR2. I think that might be a better benefit for those individuals who own one now, to be able to have that option to tether it to the PC and play games over there, right? I think that's going to be more of what's going to benefit people, right? I don't think people are looking, if they're comparing, if they did what Pat did and compare the pros and cons, they're probably not going to be like, oh, it can connect to the PC now. Well, now I'm getting it. I don't think that's going to happen, because you could do the same thing with a Quest, right? So it's like, they might just be, it's great for the people that own a PSVR 2, because they're probably, they might play some games on there, but I bet their VR headset's probably sitting around most of the time because they don't got much to play on there. And that's unfortunate. So with the PC connection, they'll be able to, they'll have a huge list, right, on Steam, because there's quite a few VR games on Steam that they can tether it to and then play a bunch of VR games on there. So that'll be good for them. Shane, what do you think, buddy?
Not too damn often. It's Sony tried, and this is personal feeling, but I think Sony tried to screw over their game bases always, like they do, and that's why you cannot play a PlayStation VR1 on PlayStation VR2. It's not a tech thing. It's I'm going to try to force them over thing. That's it, plain and simple. The cords are a big issue. Definitely. I think if they do allow PC compatibility, if you're still running cords, that's gonna hinder you some more. But I don't know for sure, and I'm too lazy to look it up. But I believe that PlayStation VR is a better all around VR experience the way it works, I believe. But you know why the Quest 2 even is such a good VR? It's because it's not just for games. You can do multiple things on it. For business work.
Spreadsheets.
Spreadsheets, yeah. We're taking accounting classes here soon. So I work in architecture. So one of the benefits of VR is to be able to design a building and have your client walk through it and get a more sense of self in the building, and that's just as an example from my perspective of work. VR with the Quest, I don't know if you could do that. I'm sure you could probably figure a way to do it with some of the other VR stuff. Probably not the one you slide your phone in, but you could, you can utilize the Quest for so many other things. That the PlayStation VR is a dedicated virtual gaming headset, at least as it is right now. If they come out with a PC dongle or whatever, and they can do it, great, more power to them. I want the best experience for my money. Pat did the right thing. He weighed pros and cons. He did the math. He hid the purchase from his girlfriend. No I'm kidding. He did the right thing. He looked at what makes one better than the other. And I don't mean better as in this one sucks, this one doesn't, as in this one is better for him. And that's what he did. And the problem is everything he listed makes more sense financially, makes more sense as a gamer. So since these two knuckleheads have threes, and I only have a baby two, I've heard them not shut up about playing VR games, which is great because Pat never got to experience for the longest time. Me and Nick both got a PlayStation VR. Then we both ended up with Quest 2s. And, Pat was over here living in the real world like a loser. And, but now he's in the VR world with all the cool kids and, he's enjoying it. Now, it took him some time to get the queasiness dealt with, but he's nailing it now. And I saw him the other day watching Pornhub and it was freaking hilarious. So, Sony made too many mistakes with PlayStation VR that Quest and some of these other VR manufacturers have not. But Quest to me is really the only VR headset I would look at anymore, at least right now, because Sony's price is too high. They don't have the games. And they have 3 first-party games for the VR2. One is for Horizon Call of the Mountain. The other one is some military game. I've seen it before, like Fire Team or something like that. And then Gran Turismo add-on. That's it. That's just not enough first person. And a lot of that I can't say for sure, but it looks like shovelware. That's remaining. Now, granted, you're going to have shovelware on all of them. That's just a guarantee. That's it's not a knock, but for a dedicated console gaming headset, I would like a lot more quality games. With Steam library, you got a lot more options. So there you go. And walking around with that on your head with no cords is probably my favorite thing. It's just so much easier. I like the VR1. I thought it was great playing Cyber. What's the Jedi sword one, Nick? Beat Saber. Yes. My God, I have even now I could jump in and I would play the crap out of the thing because you feel like a Jedi with rhythm. Granted, on the outside, you look like you have some really messed up needs, but it works really well. And nothing they've done with the VR2 makes me want to do it. Not even for Beat Saber 2. So give me the Quest 3. Give me the Quest 2. PlayStation, I think, to make it work on PC, though, I think they would have to come up with a wireless option to increase sales. Just my opinion.
I just hope that with PlayStation opening up to PC, that they open up some of their titles to PC. Because my only regret of getting the Quest 3 is I won't get to play Call of the Mountain.
I think you got a good chance of that, Pat, because Sony is starting to push their first parties over to PC. Granted, it takes them about a year. So I think if they can flip a profit, if they can flip a profit on Horizon, I think they'll do it. I really do. But they may have to kill their VR2 first to do it. But I honestly, I think they would. So. But you guys got anything else before we sign out and go to the real world and just be miserable?
No, I mean, I agree with Pat that hopefully if they do go to the PC side, they bring their whatever exclusive games they have to the PC, so we can go buy Call of the Mountain on Steam and play with our quests.
All right, Pat, you got anything else, bud? All right. Well, let's hope their little hopes and dreams come true and they can play Horizon Call of the Mountain on the PC. But until then, let us know what you think. Do you have a VR2? I know we've received messages before that, from very dedicated PlayStation VR2 people, that love their console, and it's probably great. I cannot justify it. I just can't. But let us know why you justify it. Let us know what you think about, possibly coming to PC. Give us your thoughts and opinions there. And until next time, make sure you hit those notifications, subscriptions, all that crap, the bells and the whistles. And until next time, see ya.